Welcome back to Hooligan Nation. I'm Anthony,
And I'm Rocco.
and I think this is a big problem that people have. Oh, this doesn't sound like KISS. Well, KISS has so many records, and KISS has chased so many fads. I'm not sure that anybody can tell me what KISS sounds like now.
That's an interesting take, actually.
If you go from KISS's first album and you jump to Destroyer, that's not the same sound.
True.
And then you jump from Destroyer to Dynasty. That's not the same sound.
Well,
And
and
then
I've heard interviews, and I think you'll appreciate this. I've heard interviews with both Gene and Paul, and they'll credit a lot of the different sound too to them progressing as musicians. Like they're not the same players they used to be, too. Like the sound changes as you get better. I don't think they ever really made it super complicated, but they definitely became better musicians as they went. They evolved.
I'm not sure that I can give credit to them for the sound changing being due to musicianship. I mean, the sound changed because they were chasing what was popular.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say it in that
I
context, but
mean,
still, they still became better musicians as they go. The sound itself, like changing, I'm not accrediting that to that. I'm just saying that I've heard interviews with Paul. He's like, well, this is better than what we did in the past because we play better than we did in the beginning.
I think some people don't give KISS credit all the time, or more specifically, Gene and Paul or Paul. I don't think they get the credit for being as aware and paying attention as much to the scenery. Now, looking back, maybe that always wasn't the best idea
Mm.
because everybody seems to forget that Judas Priest put out Turbo. Turbo is a mid 1980s hair metal album,
Very true.
overproduced, overpolished,
The diehard Priest fans hate that album, but I like.
over commercialized. I like the album too. The Prince of Darkness himself came out with The Ultimate Sin. Same thing. Ozzy went further to me because if you look at the music videos, I mean, he went full. Well, everybody knows it probably wasn't Ozzy, it was Sharon, but they went full bore
And MTV.
into right, but they went full bore in that. Now, compare that to what did AC/DC do?
I was going to say, like AC/DC stayed true to themselves the entire
Right?
time, and that's
Guns
cool. That's cool.
Guns N' Roses
That's that.
Guns N' Roses came out in the middle of hair metal. Hey, Kiss Army, we work hard on this podcast and try to give you the best content possible. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Also, the podcast is now on all the podcast platforms. So please like and follow us there and give us some 5-star reviews. It really helps us out.
And while you're there, please let us know if there's any KISS related subjects that you would like us to cover in the future episodes.
They were not running around with bright colored tights on. That was not their thing. The music was not overpolished. It was not overproduced. Like, I think you gotta give both sides credit. One side for staying true to what was their band, and the other side for being willing to evolve, not always successfully, but being willing to evolve. And in the case specifically of Judas Priest and of Ozzy Osbourne, I like both those records. I
Well,
I I do. I like both those records.
but here's the thing, and I mean, at least for my take, to put a bow on my side of it, and this is a shout out to Victor. You have good music, you have bad music, period. Period. You know what I mean? It's either good music or bad music.
And it's all subjective.
Right, and you know what?
which is
If
which
you're
is
and your management, are you gonna take advantage of the commercial success and the platforms like MTV? You're gonna take advantage of that.
well, if you're AC/DC, no, you're not.
And
You're
but I mean, in the '80s, they kept doing their thing, but
right.
they weren't I respect both sides of the coin with that.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But it also puts it also takes us full circle to Dan the Man's comment that he's not wrong for wanting to erase that entire era,
I agree 100%.
but I don't think that I'm wrong for not wanting to erase it because I'd rather pull out what I consider a good song here and a good song there. Like,
I
out
mean,
of out
conversation
of
what this is about.
out of 10 or 12 songs on an album, there might have been 2 or 3 that were good, but that was 2 or 3 good songs. I mean, if Kiss put out a record today of old demos that no one has ever heard of, that Peter, Ace, Gene, and Paul played on, every Kiss fan would run out and buy the goddamn thing.
100%. Absolutely.
So I don't wanna get rid of anything in the catalog because that's probably not going to happen, and there probably most likely is no more good music happening or coming from Kiss.
We'll go back to your statement. Even the stuff I don't like, I love.
Right. So that's the only thing. I understand his point. I can't disagree with him. I definitely can't say that he's wrong,
And I appreciate his comments.
but for me, I'd much rather keep the bad so I can keep what I consider the good
Yeah, I
at
mean,
the
we
same
joined
time.
the party at Lick It Up. So, we definitely have probably a different take than somebody who started from the beginning. Doesn't make us any less Kiss fans. But,
Mhm.
we started
And
started
I've said this before. I don't feel like that. I don't. I feel like I lean more towards makeup and always have than I do. I think I'm unusual when it comes to that because I think for the most part that's what happens. I think the people that are of the age and came in at Asylum love Asylum.
I like Asylum.
I'm not a huge fan of Asylum. Do I like some songs on Asylum? I do, but I'm not playing Asylum, however many songs. I'm not playing the entire record in on a car ride.
Hmm.
I'm doing this. But I can play Love Gun Destroyer, Creatures of the Night, the
You know what?
original Kiss record. I can play all of Rock and Roll Over. I can play all of them from start to finish.
If you're building a house, you build a foundation and then you add roofing shingles, you add studs, you add all this stuff to the house. The foundation was the original four members, period. So you got to respect and I think that's where it's going to ultimately start. But again, we started in the '80s and went backwards. So you know, me and you, we are a little different. We appreciate it all. We went backwards before we started going forwards with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If it's too loud, you're too old. Peace out, Hooligan Nation.